we're just going to go through a little bit about what is Edge City and why are we even here and what are we doing this week. We've got a whole week of things and we want to make sure that people actually know what this is all about. So, firstly, what we're kind of focused on is this concept of building a society incubator. And now you're like, okay, now I'm even more confused. You might as well just start with Edge City. Okay, so we'll go through what is Edge City so we understand it a bit more. Why now? Like, why do we care to build this now and why is it working? And the roadmap that we have and how we'd love all of you to get involved both today, this week, and then moving forward. And then lastly, we'll just dive into a bit of Q&A together. So firstly, what are we? And this concept of a society incubator came from, let me just give you a bit of background. In 2023, Vitalik Buterin, who's the founder of Ethereum, he spoke earlier today about his philosophy around DEAC, which is decentralized, defensive, democratic acceleration. And ultimately, he was thinking about network states after, Balaji had written about that. He was really interested. He was like, I don't know if I fully agree with this concept, but like, why don't we experiment with something I feel good about, which is like micro exits versus macro, build a whole new countries. And we decided to do a 2-month-long experiment in Montenegro, where we had 200 people come and live in Montenegro for that whole time. And we had a number of visitors come through. It sort of became this space of experimentation where people were building new technology and testing it out with one another. And people were so excited to try what people were building, as well as, do talks on a regular basis. We had sort of different themes each week that we kind of kept people connected around. And what we found was by having this container for a 2-month-long period or this extended period, people were actually able to create a very high trust environment where they were able to test new ideas, be very open source in nature, share, kind of build on what one another was building, actually kind of have a ton of momentum on very, very early stage projects that might have just been squashed otherwise or made no progress otherwise. So moving forward, we decided to build Edge City, and Timour had been involved in the early Zuzulu, and we wanted to carry forward what this concept was by building these specific 1-month-long intentional pop-up villages. So think about it as like a way where we can see breakthroughs happen when we bring the kind, curious, and high agency people together who actually want to build and not just talk or kind of go through a normal day-to-day in a role, maybe at a company that they're not happy about, but actually build, share it with one another, feel like they're supported in building something new, and actually iterate on that together. So here's some pictures from previous villages that we've done. We've done 5 of these to date across the globe. Something we find very important is building a global community. And we're doing that by actually going to many different places in the world where we're getting to know local ecosystems, bring people in. Like there's a lot of you who would never have come to Thailand. And that's okay. But we're able to now connect this network over time. So it's not just relying on networks to exist online, but it is taking the value of networks connecting in person and bringing that back to kind of connecting both between online and offline environments. So here's some of sort of images that we had from previous ones. You can see here a lot of talks. We've got some workouts going on. We had events with color wars. We had kids joining 3D printing. We had sort of workshops going on. We've got gene editing, plots, which we'll be doing tomorrow as well. We've got workouts again. And something that is sort of important to share from this was each of these activities and experiments didn't take months of planning. It was like we got people into a space together, and that big color wars activity happened in 3 days. We were like, okay, actually, we've got everyone here. We've got to do something. Let's get some people together and have a great time. And once you've got this density of people together invested in that community, you could just move so much faster in both community iteration, learning from one another, building together, testing new things. Like that 3D printer happened to pop up the last week of Edge Esmeralda when we were in California. Someone was like, oh my gosh, I saw that you guys have kids here. Actually, I want to bring 3D printing in. Can I do a class with the kids for the whole last week? So it's just this like fast iteration versus waiting weeks and months to test out new ideas. So how we structure them is like size of a village, dynamism of a city. Think of it as having everyone in a walking distance in these pop-ups for a month. Oftentimes we're doing it in a small town. This is one of the first times we're doing it in a big city. And it's a completely different environment. Right? All of you guys have a lot of other things going on in your day. So there's not this sort of like dense, attention on building together or living very close by. And that's often a reason why these month-long things are in a town where just by default, everyone is living within a walking distance of one another. So serendipity is abundant. And that's something that is almost like manufactured serendipity. And we so seldom have that in our days anymore. On top of it, we're focused on bringing together, a few hundred residents wherever we go. So about 250 people together full time, trying to aim for above Dunbar's number. It's just kind of important to make sure that people it feels like a village. It feels like you can actually build new culture with one another. And then we've kind of stumbled upon 4 guiding principles. And it's important to say stumbled upon them because we're already focused on this being quite grassroots. Like it's not about us imposing like a very authoritarian, this is how we're building things. The organization of the villages is, top down, but what happens in them is ideally bottoms up. And 4 guiding principles that have emerged are very much so around health and well-being. Kind of we heard a little bit about earlier, just the value of building healthy cities. And I don't think environments today are necessarily built for health. And what could that look like so we don't spend hours of our time thinking about health? This idea of like building in co-creation. Like we want to be open source. We want to share ideas with one another and actually learn, iterate, and speed up what we're doing in the places that we are. Multidisciplinary. You guys have seen it today. We've had someone speaking about quantum computing, someone speaking about health, another one speaking about diapers. Like we've really gone the gamut. But something important there is making sure that people are getting to learn from one another in different fields and almost not get stuck in a rut of like, this is how it has to be done in my field, but kind of pick your head up, learn from someone else, and maybe accelerate what you're working on as a result. We've seen a lot of just kind of completely new ideas come out of our spaces so far because of the intersection, like crypto and AI. The first AI bot was actually built at an Edge city. The first AI bot that fought and kind of launched a meme coin was at Edge city. Now that's kind of gone into a terrible realm, but like, wow, fascinating. And we've also seen sort of stuff around people working in neurotech actually become really curious about privacy and privacy preserving tooling, where they didn't really even think about it previously. And as we're building this new technology that's being inserted into our brains, thinking about privacy from the get-go will shape so much of what is built in the future. The last is multi-generational. A big thing for us is like, we can't be building these spaces for testing new societal ideas without having the range of people that are in society. And when you actually look at how we live today, we get broken up so many of our age ranges to only socialize with one another. So the kids go to school, adults get to spend time with one another, and then we send all people into, a hub. What is going on there? Like, does it have to be that way, or could we experiment differently? Can we think about how the elderly can actually look after kids versus us having to hire very expensive help? People don't want to have children today as much as they used to. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. But one big piece is it is so hard to have children today. And it is not fun being stuck at home in a sort of nuclear family dynamic where you're like, okay, I've got to do everything for these children. Like, how can we build for a world where people are excited to have kids and it feels less challenging and less expensive? And can we actually build a space that creates educational environments for kids, creates a multi-generational space that people are excited to donate to? Yeah, question.
Just one quick data point to support what you're saying. I could really interesting example a couple of years ago of people in their like 20s and 30s. They're navigating, they're trying to marry this first, they're trying to break up with first. I have no idea. And there's people who are older, more able to provide a lot of guidance and that really helps people's like fundamental life decisions.
It's amazing. It's something we found when we did something in Healdsburg, California, which has a very old population. We had a lot of them participate, and they were the most helpful group that were like, I'm so excited to be here because I feel useful and I feel like I can still learn and contribute. And that's something that's really special to have. So why now? What and why is this important to us, and why are we building it? Tech is moving very fast, but society isn't. Like, something that we've seen is like, okay, there's so many crazy things happening, yet we haven't changed a lot in how we school kids. We haven't changed a lot from our 9 to 5. We have not changed a lot in terms of how we live in homes and sort of the nuclear family dynamic in a while. And I think if you were a hunter-gatherer and walked into a suburb and say a middle American town, you would be like, what the heck is going on? You all live, you pride your piece of land above everything else. You separate yourself from everyone around you. You all go to the same food source in a vehicle that means you don't get any exercise, and you don't share it with anyone else around you. That's different. So that's just kind of something we're thinking about, is like, how can we actually push some societal experimentation, similar to how we're pushing on the technology side, and we encourage everyone to experiment in different ways. So we're thinking about these like micro exits in these pop-ups. Some people ask us, is this a network state? And we would say we are adjacent to the network state movement and really thinking about micro exits to learn, build, shape new ideas, and then bring that back into and integrate that into governance structures and kind of big cities and big countries versus try to build a whole new country. I do find that very commendable though. We're also thinking about like, how do we shape new institutions and new norms and governance? Like, it doesn't all have to be built as like, okay, we're going to build a new type of school. Let's go and do that. Like, can we experiment with it first in our spaces? And then if it's working, people can go and build. And we're starting to see this with a few people out of previous edge cities who actually spun out new institutions and orgs. One is called Nodes, and it's focused on new funding mechanisms to support frontier tech with the grants and an endowment that they're starting to build. So that's really, really cool to see. And it's kind of university adjacent versus kind of in a university itself. So I would like Timour dive in here.
Sweet. Can I grab the clicker? Thank you so much. So one thing to make present now is that we are very much at the V0.1 of this, talking in software terms. We are in the process of co-creating this. This is why we do sessions like this, because we want to get input. So please do let us know, like thoughts, feedback over the course of this week. And now you've got a sense of what we're doing currently and why we think it's important. And here is kind of a visual distillation of an essay we just published a few days ago to give a sense of our roadmap, so where we're going and how we think we'll get there. So the first thing is starting with public villages where people thrive. We've just talked about this. The key thing here is that we want to actually create an environment that people are excited to come to, because there's so much going on in the world. You're all very busy people. We need something to, draw you in. And we have the 4 principles, we have the way that we approach the events, and they've been really exciting so far. So we have a few coming up. One is in South Africa in April. So just a very quick moment to show this. It's going to be incredible. Such a beautiful place. Lots of innovation happening there in biotech, education, a lot of interesting work in climate tech. If people are interested in that topic, there's a new town project that we will be visiting and collaborating with. And this is actually a central theme that we'll talk about in a second. And it's just a very culturally diverse, beautiful place. So if you want to spend a week with a really cool group of people, that's on our website.
And to just dive in there, the reason we're doing a week is that we actually start to learn about what is going on there first. It's a very small group that will be going to South Africa for this trip to understand, should we look at building a pop-up here? Should we integrate with this community? Can they actually build something themselves? What value can we bring in terms of bringing international folks to the table too?
Totally. And that's a similar aspect of what's happening here this week as well. And then the next big one will be Edge Esmeralda 2025. This will be the second version of the event that we did there last year. Again, really a beautiful place, a full month to co-live and co-work and experiment with projects that you're building. There'll be, various types of hackathons, different programs start the weeks. So really highly recommend joining. That's a little bit closer than flying all the way to South Africa. So join us for that one. And the second step in this roadmap is actually starting to think about what is happening here. One of the big whys for why we start with Popup villages is that they're essentially bootstrapping the network of people that will then, like Janine said, go back to where they live, go back to around the world, and actually start to spread some of these ideas. So we've already had just under 10,000 people come to our events. That number will grow significantly this year. And we're starting to, create the connections between those folks. It's cool because our events are quite long, so you have time to really connect with people. And we've had people probably close to a dozen relationships now, 2 babies conceived, many startups. So it's really, and this is in 1 year. So it's very gratifying to see that happen. The third step will be, as we start to build this network, we're also actively building the tools that we need to execute these things. And that obviously involves technology and actually using frontier technology, using AI, using blockchains in order to enable these things. But it's also, we think of, you can always delete the word tech there. We almost think of the stack, which also includes the playbooks, the norms, the practices that we introduce into the space, the things that we co-create together. One thing that has kind of naturally emerged is the practice of doing what we call decentralized dinners. We're going to do that again this week, where we just get groups of 6 people, kind of randomly put them together, say, okay, you guys go have dinner here. Here are some things that you should ask each other. And these are very basic things, right? Again, to the idea about hunter-gatherer coming, and they would find that very normal, right? It's like, okay, you're connecting in groups, that's great. But somehow in our society right now, it's actually quite a novel thing. And the key thing here is that we want to make it as easy as possible for people to essentially steal our playbook and do exactly what we're doing. So we published a playbook last year. We need to update that, and we intend to, but we don't want to be a limiter on this thing. We genuinely believe in this concept of pop-up villages, pop-up cities. So yeah, we're essentially going to make the stack that someone can just copy paste, and then they get to do all the fun stuff of picking the location, getting all the cool people to come. Everything else should be as trivial as possible. Did you want to add something? Cool. All right. So the fourth step is that some of these temporary pop-up villages will over time start to build roots and become permanent places. We've actually seen this in every single place that we've done something like this. The clearest example is in Esmeralda in California. There is a new town being built called Esmeralda. The idea is to build a beautiful, walkable, family-friendly town. It's about an hour north of San Francisco. It's an incredible project. And what's cool It's started by an incredible founder called Devin Zugel. What's interesting is that she loves us because we, get to essentially, live action role play for a month what it will look like to live in Esmeralda as it gets built over the next several years. And for us, it's really interesting because Esmeralda provides the longevity to all of the experiments that we're creating. So, for example, the network of people will now have a permanent hub where they can go. The stack that we create, if you're a startup builder and you're building something related to connection or human flourishing or getting people to, spend time together, you now have a full-on brand new city where you can integrate your tools. So we want to start to use these hubs as a way to build that ecosystem around the world. There's a smaller example than this happening in Thailand, where we did our village in November. And it's very much an intention for us to keep this going. So everywhere we go, we want to at least have some roots settle down, even if it's not us explicitly, maybe partnering with folks on the ground that can then continue those experiments. So the fifth thing is linking all of these different nodes into what we think of as a global innovation engine. And the core insight here is that we feel like, we believe strongly that ideas grow best when they have a chance to be iterated upon, right? They have the process of evolution applied to them. And that happens in this incredible way when you incubate things, for example, at Esmeralda, and then you can actually go to Bhutan and implement that and learn from it and see what happened there, and then take it to South Africa and again, try it in different contexts, learn from the local wisdom there. What's really nice is something we found that's emerged is that builders and teams, when they incubate something in one place and then there's 3 months till the next village, there's this really nice gap in between where they can really quickly build and iterate on what they were creating, and then they get to show it again and get more feedback at the next one. So these kind of checkpoints in the year which create a really nice cadence for building. And the last thing is to demonstrate the better way of living. And this is a point that it's kind of the cherry on top of all of this, which is that, again, we don't want to just create our own little parallel universe that, we choose who gets to come or whatever. But it relates to this idea of Buckminster Fuller, which is it's so much easier, instead of trying to change the current system, just to demonstrate that another way is possible. So that's what we're trying to do. And we really want, local governments and towns and communities to steal our ideas and start to implement them and see, what gets developed in these spaces that they can learn from.
And such a big piece of that is just like empowering towns and empowering neighborhoods, and neighborhoods taking more agency and towns taking more agency and cities taking more agency. Like we're seeing this happen in some degree in the US, where things are breaking because it was done at such a, the federal level for everything. And you in your town having an issue can't really give feedback to the top of the chain. Like, what does it actually look like to have everyone take the agency that we have? Like, the world is changing rapidly. Technology is changing so fast, and it's giving us more agency than we have ever had. Let's take this opportunity and sort of build the world we want to see, versus wait for someone at the top to be like, well, this is how you need to live. This is how you need to educate your kids. And this is how you need to work out or keep yourself healthy. Like, we can all take that responsibility, and that's what we hope to build here.
Yeah, well said. All right, so how do you get involved? It's really not that hard. The first thing is, it's not that complicated, I shouldn't say. The first thing is to attend. So like I said, we are at V0.1 here. We are learning. We are trying to get the word out. This is a bit of an orthogonal idea, right? People don't instantly understand, like, is it a conference? Is it like some kind of weird Burning Man culty thing or whatever? So,
I mean, we're still also trying to figure out,
so see where on that spectrum we land. But the point is we need, in order to learn the lessons that we need to learn, because we have this emergent kind of grounds up philosophy, we need people to actually come and try stuff, right? We can't just be doing it ourselves. So that's one. And if you can't make it to one, but you think of some friends who you think would really enjoy it, like, please share with them.
And with that, like this week while we're in Austin, we have a whole week that we're doing things. Like there'll be things every evening, there'll be workouts in the morning. And if you think about friends that are just interested in finding community and being more of a builder and like, you know, sharing their ambition with people around them and sharing their excitement for projects or wanting to hap on something this whole week, and you're like, okay, I could actually do it here and bring 3 or 4 friends together to build something. Like, let me just make that happen. Like, let's use this week that we have together to attend.
Yeah. Second one is donate. We are a 501c3, so if you are interested or you know folks who are interested in topics like this, it's very easy to do that on our website. So we appreciate that. Third one we touched on, share with friends. The one thing I'll add there is that even if there's, you know, if there are folks who aren't in Austin right now who you think actually could probably never make it to something like this, we're trying to build a bit more of the cultural awareness of this idea of experimenting, this idea of just being like, well, maybe it doesn't have to be this way. So even just sharing our socials with people and being like, hey, make it interested in this, or check out our blog and share those pieces. And I think over time, this movement will grow and it will build. And, you know, you can all help in that. And the fourth thing is build. So what that means is we don't want people to kind of just come and, you know, passively take in the content. We want people to actually show up and with the mindset of building something. So that you could be building a startup, but you could be building an academic paper, you could be building a family, right? That could be your focus. But that's kind of a core underlying philosophy. And so if you have an idea of something you want to create, like a experiment that you want to run, or something you want to do with your team, let us know. We'd be very excited to hear about it. And oh yeah, so now let's quickly touch on Edge City Austin.
Yeah, let's just dive into what this week is all about. And to the point of sort of, you know, what we're saying about like building, doing stuff differently, what we sort of just mean is like take charge and use your agency to live a happier, healthier, more productive life to make a positive impact. So what we're going to be doing in Edge City for the week, this is the first experiment of ours doing a week-long program like this. Like this is the first time that we've even done a lightning talk day like today. It's been a lot of learnings already. You know, first time doing it in the city, first time having it be only a week-long program, first time where it's not super decentralized in terms of the programming. So we're learning as we go. Please help build a week that you want to be a part of is kind of all I could say. So what we will, just think about the structure as you can come here in the morning for workouts. This room will have epic workouts happening from 8 till 9 and 9 till 10. If you want a HIIT workout, come at 8 till 9. If you want a more casual yoga, come at 9 till 10. Stay for coffee after, just come get to know someone. And then there'll be co-working happening next door. So if you've been working at home solo for a while, like some of you might be in the lab, some of you are just working home solo, come and work with others. Like actually get to know Austin better. Most people who are attending this event are from Austin. So our hope is that it's a group that just like recognizes that there's a really cool ecosystem here. In the afternoon, there'll always be a break from stuff like 2 till 3:30 with snacks over here. Just come out and grab some. And then we'll have programming for kids. So if you know families who want to come and do Lego, who want to come and build stuff between, we've got Lego, we've got art, we've got just a whole kind of what we're doing for adults. We're trying to program for kids, and we're building like kids helping think through what is the future that we want to see. So bring your children along. And then we'll have sort of daily workshops and talks mainly happening from 5 to 8 p.m. Some days it goes a little earlier, but the whole idea is like more workshop-based spaces. So today was very lightning talks-based. If you were in Koretsu doing some of the workshops, which I heard were amazing, that's going to be more of the structure of the talks in the evening. Each day is a different theme, which I'll go through shortly. And then there'll just be kind of a hangout here in the evenings. Some evenings there'll be programming, some they won't. But let me just kind of dive through.
One thing to add, just quickly on that one. There is this period between 10 and 2, roughly, where the calendar is open. So if you're not doing deep work and you think, oh, I could organize a group for a connection session, or someone's doing a circling session, you can use that time. You can either put Magdalena as the venue or Kiratsu. Just make sure you don't clash with anyone else if you're picking a venue. And yeah, but we would love to see it.
It's like everyone is able to add to the calendar. So that's all for everyone here to work on. So in terms of the daily themes, tomorrow will be health and biotech. Come and listen to Josie Zana. She's been doing some amazing stuff with biotech in Austin when it comes to she was part of the original CRISPR team and has been doing some stuff with gene editing, but in a very thoughtful way that I think has been quite enlightening to see. We'll have a number of other talks going on in the evening, and then we'll end with a breath work and a sound bath. So that's going to happen here tomorrow evening. That will be sort of 8:30 till 10. So please join for that. Tuesday, Embodied AI. Highlight talk there is going to be Brendan McCord's. I think that will be, and there's some readings to do for that one. So make sure you actually do the readings if you're coming. And after that, we're going to have an amazing art and music show. It's been incredible seeing some of the artists, musicians in Austin. We can't build a future without culture and without art and music. Like that is such an important piece of where we're going to go. So we'll have that happening in the evening. Hard Tech on Wednesday. There's actually a new project called Prototown that's going to be building a hard tech town outside of Austin. They're really trying to get some interesting people out there. There's Cities of Tomorrow. There are 8 new town projects happening outside of Austin. That's a lot. Austin is becoming a hub for some of the sort of new physical spaces that are being built. So come check that out. And then Friday, as Wyatt mentioned, Barton Springs is this incredible space in Austin that is a community hub, and that is a public space that anyone can go to, and it's not closed off. And something we thought was going to be really special was ending the week with a workout at Barton Springs and doing coffee and bone broth there for the last final kickoff before some people leave, some people go straight into South by, and hopefully during that time you get to meet a number of new people this week. You think about doing a dinner with a couple of folks that you connect with. You just actually spend time here because you can get to know someone so much in a week, and we don't have that time in the way that we live in cities today, where it's like you meet someone cool and maybe you'll see them a month later. So let's see what it looks like to actually be with one another for a whole week. Questions?
Well, the furthest with is close.
We're going to be doing a workout just outside it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing sort of workout and coffee. I think it's not closed, is it? Fully closed. Wow.
It's always open, it always what people say. Yeah.
So we'll be right there. There's just a great outdoor space so it'll be on the east side is where we'll be doing the workout.
All right. Any other questions?
Or answers.
No answers.
We'll take put. Yeah.
So, you're creating kind of an open source platform for people to create their own cities. We saw an example of that in Chiang Mai earlier this year, or late last year, I should say. I was there, and you had like an intersection of like at least four different pop-up cities kind of coming together, which was really rad. I'm curious, what other examples of pop-up cities have you seen kind of throughout last year, and have you seen any earlier this year?
There are so many. There's so many. I mean, there's at least.
We're plotting like the top 3.
Okay, so there was one interesting one called Zugrama in India, which I was sad to miss, which is really cool how it's really becoming a global thing. And I had people reaching out to me and being like, hey, I'm actually heading to India, are you involved? And it's very gratifying to be like, actually, no, that one has just kind of done its own thing. There's one called Crecimiento in Argentina, which was an incubation of ours. that's a really good kind of halfway example where it's an idea that we had, it's a team that we built, and then have had them run with it. And now they've had, I think, 3 or 4 even pop-ups already.
Down to do a whole month.
Yeah.
When again?
Yeah, awesome. Which other ones are there? I mean, I think it's really interesting to see people take their own approach with this. So, for example, in Chiang Mai, as you mentioned, in October, there's probably about 12 or 13 different ones. Some of them looked more like residencies. Some of them, were kind of just essentially a hacker house for a month. But I think we'll just start to see this more and more often. And it's funny. We like to play the role of kind of like planting a flag and then letting people know that we will be in a certain place. And then people tend to kind of congregate around. I think the next one will probably be in Argentina in November. So that's exciting. Yeah.
And on that note, any last questions?
I think what you guys do is really impressive, really amazing. I think I have the same subtle critiques of, let's say, adjacent movements to what you guys are arguing. What do you guys bottleneck on? What would it take to you guys to take it to the next level? You guys have so much, practical knowledge.
Oh, so many things. Definitely doesn't feel like brushing a baller uphill. No, I feel like honestly it's good. It's good people and it's good communication about what's happening. And the best thing that can happen is people genuinely figure out how spaces with many people can help them build better. Because the more stories we can have of people actually building better, then we can continue what we're doing, or we can sort of direct what we're doing, right? Like, I think the fact, if people were leaving these environments feeling like, I feel unhealthy, I feel terrible, I feel like I didn't learn, we'll be like, cool, let's not do this. But we're coming out with people being like, I feel more inspired than I've ever been to build. I feel healthier than I have ever been. I am excited about the people I can connect with around the world. I don't feel like I am lost and will be like isolated my whole life. This will be a place for me to connect. And I think that's like, okay, we're onto something there, but figuring out the what exactly and like what is it good for? So what can people build? Is really what we would love more help with, is just building and testing and being like, it wasn't good for me to build a new biotech device because you had no equipment. Great. Note taken. But like, what is it good for? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a theory that something will emerge over the next 5 to 10 years from this broader movement that could only have come from something like this, right? That would not have come from a think tank or from a Y Combinator or something like that. I think people will look back and these are not my words. This is Laura Deming, who's one of the leading researchers in longevity. She's building a cryogenics company. She referred to Jasmine as like, I think people talk about this the way that people talk about what Harvard was for Facebook. Like it had to come from there and then spread from there. And her experience at Esmeralda had a similar feeling to her, at least, of like, okay, there's something here. It's very hard to point to exactly because, it's very much in the early stages. Those ideas are gestating, they're growing. But that's what we need to be able to show. I think the potential failure mode of this is that it was just a really fun time for some people at some point, Like we don't want it just to be that, although it is that. We want there to be something meaningful that comes out of it.
Later, like success story kind of things. Yeah. Awesome.
So if you want to build that, Joe, it's RL usually. Blossom.
Ilham.
Hey, Janine, Timour. So I especially loved what Janine has said, that hosting these kind of a gathering of really high intensity people in one place to create and to support the towns and cities that are sort of on the edge and to inspire them to hope or agency so that they can feel less powerless against federal central government. But at the same time, this migrating, I would say, community of HCG also wants the support from the local government, right? You also mentioned that. So they fight the relationship also about this global digital nomads and the local government. So what would you like the city as the geographical locations and as the government legal framework? What would you like them to have so that you will feel supported to be your full city community and to be able to create to the fullest potential?
That's a really good question. And for context, Elaine has done some of the most impressive work with governments in the Philippines and Palau. And I've just been amazed by how she's pushed forward a lot of like digital governance as a whole there. So when it comes to, what do we need from, or what would we love to see from governments? I think a good example would be what we have seen from folks like ARIA in the UK, which is the Advanced Research and Innovation Agency of the UK government. They have been extremely open to connecting us to everyone possible in the UK that is doing and working at the frontier of any of their fields. So we've connected with, they probably put us in touch with 50 different people that would have just been impossible for us to connect with otherwise, and to try and like understand those ecosystems and now bring those ecosystems together. So it makes our life a lot easier because we're like, oh wow, we know who they're already trying to connect the dots with, and we can just be supportive to that. So connecting us into ecosystems and making us not seem like a foreign sort of invasive species, but instead a lovely wall plant that deserves to be in the room, stuffing flower, is probably what we'd love to see the most from governments. Okay. And on that note, let's go and enjoy the opening. Please connect with 1 to 2 new people that you have not connected with.
You can just go up to someone and be like, Janine and Timour told me to do this. I'm sorry it's awkward, but hi.
And if you are worried about connecting with people and you want to sort of think more about how to do it intentionally, Judy or Winston, who is, put up your hand. She's she's now teaching actually at UT, doing a human connection class. And it's amazing to see UT actually invest in a lot of these concepts. But I'm sure she'll be able to give you some advice if you're a little bit worried.
Well, if you advice on that, if more people put their intros into the intros channel on Telegram, then people who really have a lot of comments can see that, and so it's not so rare.
Do your intros.
Do your intros on Telegram, engage in the Telegram, use that. That's not just for us to blast you with the notes of the whole week. It's actually for you to connect with one another. And we hope out of this week, you will know 1 to 2 new people that you're working on something with or connecting with in the social environment, or building something where you're like, oh my gosh, Allstick is freaking rad and there is cool stuff going on here, and help Jason achieve his dream of this being the spot where a renaissance is happening. So thank you.